Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about prequel grumbling, Star Wars prequel grumbling, Mr. Plinkett, and Mike Stoklasa. So basically, Mr. Plinkett is a very complicated subject. So prequel grumbling have been a major issue since the prequel films, and now in 2017, I think it's time to revisit prequel grumbling, because Ian McDiarmid, who played Emperor Palpatine, he's an award-winning actor, right? And he just this year in 2017, he sat next to Hayden Christensen, and in front of like 1,000 people or more who were Star Wars fans, he said, you know, the incredible concentration of Hayden Christensen, and he referred to Hayden Christensen as a great actor, right? And I believe Hayden Christensen is a great actor, but he said this without complaint, actually without apology, and it was, when I saw it, it was like, holy cows, we are in a new day, right? And the reason why is, for the prequel grumblers, what the prequel grumblers were saying is, hey, when it comes to building material, when it comes to building a world, to building a story, to building characters, the episodes 4, 5, and 6 are granite, and episodes 1, 2, and 3 are sand. Okay, but now there is new stories being built. There is episodes 7, 8, and 9, and Rogue One. So episode 7 and Rogue One are tremendously good films, and they're weighty, right? So those two films are resting on the prequels, the building material between, you know, you have granite on the bottom, and then what are the prequels? Are they sand, or are they an additional layer of granite, right? Now, the reality is, before 7 and Rogue, there was a really good question of I think it might have been a valid question of what those movies were. But now that we have 7 and we have Rogue, these are, in my opinion, unquestionably amazing films. And now they are objectively showing with data that the prequel films are granite, exactly the way episodes 4, 5, and 6 are. Okay, so that's the question: is what are the prequel films? Are they sand, or are they granite? And now we have the proof that they are granite. Okay, so now that we have the proof, there was a period of about 15 years, okay, where entire businesses were built on downing George Lucas and just insulting his ability to write, insulting his ability to direct, insulting his creative choices, insulting him as a person, okay? And Mike Stoklasa, the key creator of the character, Mr. Plinkett, I want to call him the king of the prequel grumblers, but I'm not sure that's correct. I actually think if there's a pitchfork mob, I think he's not the guy in the front, right? He's the guy who comes in and says, yeah, kill the beast, right? You know, he's a smart, savvy instigator in the back. I don't think he's the king of the prequel grumblers, right? But he is absolutely key to how prequel grumbling spread, okay? And so I just kind of want to unpack this, right? So I was ready to do my video about Mr. Plinkett, right? And I realized, you know what, Scott, you have a lot of ire attached to Mr. Plinkett's prequel videos, and you have ire attached to how you feel about Mike Stoklasa. So you need to take a step back, you need to breathe, and you need to think, and you need to research more. And that's what I did, right? So here's what I found. One, Red Letter Media absolutely has been built on the back of the prequel movies. So they have millions of views collectively, and there were a lot of people that went and enjoyed these videos that viciously tear apart every single one of the prequels in a level of detail that is It's high. It's high. It's hard for me to even say, right? So I have, a deep and abiding appreciation to George Lucas. He has brought me so much joy in my life through the Star Wars films, and I feel that what he has created is a great gift to me, and has been a great gift to millions of people. And so it really hurts me to see what's been done. And Mr. Plinkett's prequel videos, what it did was it served as an amplifier for prequel grumbling. Okay. A massive amplifier, right? Like plugged in with, its own generator and a major power source, like the kind of electrical lines you don't just plug in a lamp with, but what you like power an RV with. It has its own special outlet. This was a level of magnification of prequel grumbling that really, and in my opinion, reached prequel hate. I'm always hesitant to use that term, prequel hate, but with Mike Stoklasa, he was churning the prequel hate cauldron with, with a big old spoon, just churning it, right? And even more, he actually has massively benefited from doing that commercially, monetarily. So essentially, in my opinion, Mike Stoklasa has made a business out of bullying. Yeah, I would say it's bullying, right? So of verbally, that's a better way of putting it. I don't want to use the term bullying. I think Mike Stoklasa is a man who has made a business out of verbally abusing another man, and that man is George Lucas. Now, let's be clear, because as soon as you start using terms like bullying and verbal abuse, I believe that Mike Stoklasa had the absolute right to do everything he did as a red-blooded American in a capitalist society. What he did, there was nothing wrong with it from a legal perspective. He had every right to go down the path he chose. Okay, was he morally right to do it? That is a very complicated question that I could not even possibly approach within this video, and I may unpack that at another time. But we're going to set that aside. What I am convinced he was 100% wrong about is he was ethically wrong. What he did was ethically wrong, and here I think, and this is it. We really didn't know until the new films, until we've seen what has happened, right? We really didn't know what the actual state of the prequels were, but now we see them serving as a granite foundation for not just a new trilogy, but multiple trilogies, and probably, and comic books, and new video games. So we know that there isn't a question anymore, right? Mr. Plinkett and Mike Stoklasa have been proven wrong by the strength of the new films, and the question on whether the prequels were sand or granite is answered. They are granite. Okay, Force Awakens and Rogue One proved that, right? So that is a, we now understand that. So here's what Stoklasa did. Okay, essentially Stoklasa walked up to another. If you're going to boil this down to what really happened with the Plinkett characters, is he took on a character, and then as a character, as a man, he walked up and in the voice of another character said to someone, "Hey, your shoes are ugly. Your shoes are a bad choice with your pants and your shirt. They clash. They're poorly chosen. You probably bought those at Payless, right? Okay. Now this is a man doing this to another man, right? We're not in school. These are two adult men, right? Now, what he did, if you did that once, that's minorly wrong. It's an offense, right? It's a minor offense, right? But if you did that every day, right, and if you then had people watch you do that, right, and then every time that they came to watch you insult this man's shoes and pants and shirt, right, and they all laughed and then paid you $1, what's that look like? What is that? I would say that's ethically wrong, right? You have every legal right to do it. Okay, I think Mike Stoklasa, he had every legal right to do what he did. The other thing, also, I want to point this out too. This is happening a lot in 2017. Now, Mike Stoklasa has said an immense amount of words that I fundamentally disagree with, that I think he's 100% wrong on, right? And a lot of times in 2017, people will hear somebody continually saying things that they don't like or that are, the exact opposite of what they believe, and they'll say that person is stupid. I'll tell you right now, Mike Stoklasa is not remotely stupid. He is very, very intelligent, okay? And that's another reason why I think this is ethically wrong, right? Because he knew exactly, I think Mike Stoklasa knew exactly what he was doing, okay? Now, here's the next issue, okay? He used this filter, this mask of Mr. Plinkett to do what he did, right? And, which is interesting, okay? So what really happened with Stoklasa? And yeah, all right, so let me get into it. Okay, what is Mr. Plinkett? Mr. Plinkett is this mask that Stoklasa used, right? Now, it was complicated because I really had to think about this, because Mr. Plinkett, what Mr. Plinkett, the character, really does is it brings up the question, who is Mike Stoklasa actually making fun of? Is he making fun of George Lucas, or is he making fun of his own viewers? Or is he doing both, right? And the reason why is Mr. Plinkett is not Mike Stoklasa. It's a character that Mike Stoklasa is playing, okay? Now, the character, Mr. Plinkett, is cruel, and there's a lot of evidence that he's illiterate, right? And ill-informed, okay? And generally a bad person. I think all of those things are wrapped up in the character of Mr. Plinkett. I think you can attach each of those labels objectively with the information that's there to Mr. Plinkett, right? So if Stoklasa is saying this prequel hater, Mr. Plinkett, hates the prequels, is he saying that the people who hate the prequels are generally cruel and might not have read a lot and are generally bad people? I was thinking about that. I was like, is that what he's saying? Right? Now, I think here's where it gets a little murky. I think it's difficult to say if Plinkett is trying to, I don't think he's trying to simply insult George Lucas. There's more going on there. He absolutely did that, right? And I actually think he was insulting both. I think he was insulting George Lucas, and he was insulting his own viewers. And I think he thought he could get away with it, right? And I think he did get away with it for a long time. And it's really easy to get away with. The reason why it's easy to get away with making fun of both your, George Lucas and making fun of your viewers is because sarcasm on the internet, this is like web 1.0. Sarcasm doesn't play on the internet, right? You can't use sarcasm on the internet because people aren't right there. They don't see your inflections. They don't understand your tone. They may be coming into a video. They don't know you, right? Now, Mike Stoklasa is incredibly intelligent. He knows that sarcasm doesn't play on the internet, right? So I think what he was doing was he was insulting George Lucas, okay? But the reality is, I think he was also insulting his own viewers and trusting that they wouldn't know that, which again, I think is just, it's not good. Everything that Stoklasa did, it's just not good. So after all is after all is said and done, here's where I'm at. So the reality is, I really believe that what Mike Stoklasa did with Mr. Plinkett prequel videos, which have collectively millions of views, was ethically wrong and was cruel to George Lucas. It was cruel to George Lucas. Perhaps there was a justification for it when we didn't know what the prequel films were, and when we could entertain the idea that the prequels were not amazing, historically important films, enjoyable films, objectively wonderful films. Okay? But now we know, right? And so, in my opinion, I think that Mike Stoklasa should use the same channel that he used, Red Letter Media, that he used to down George Lucas for years, making a lot of money and gaining millions of views and many subscribers and many comments, all which convert into money. I think he should use that same channel to publicly apologize to George Lucas today. And honestly, I think that would I'm hesitant to say that would be enough, because go back, just look at the video, look at the pictures. You can see that between 2002 and 2013, 2012, I would say, maybe a little longer, George Lucas was a deeply hurt man, right? And I'm a strong believer that Mike Stoklasa is personally hurt George Lucas, right? Not physically, but definitely emotionally and intellectually. And I think there should be an apology. And honestly, I'm tempted to say that wouldn't be enough, but that's wrong. I think if you're a man and you've harmed another man and you go to that other man and you say, I'm sorry, then it's on that other guy to forgive you. And I think that Mike Stoklasa he really owes George Lucas an apology. And I think that should be the end of it. And then once he's done that, I think, everybody out there should give Mike Stoklasa a chance to continue his career and to build something significant and to be beneficially part of our culture and the culture of fandom and the culture of science fiction and the culture of fun. But I think it's important. I really believe Mike Stoklasa personally owes George Lucas an apology. Thank you.